Let me get this straight. You watched my last video where I broke down why China would collapse if it invaded Taiwan. And some of you still asked, but Ken, what if the US doesn't intervene? What if America just abandons Taiwan and lets Taiwan fall? Really? You think the world's most powerful military with a 900 billion US dollar budget will sit on the sidelines while Beijing steamrolls the most strategically vital island on the planet? Come on, that's not how geopolitics or America works. So today we're going to kill this doubt once and for all. Because if China invades Taiwan, the US will intervene. No hesitation, no maybe, no strongly worded UN statement. Just straight up firepower. Let's rewind to the 1950s. Back when Elvis was king and the Cold War was heating up, the US was already playing defense for Taiwan. 1954, the first Taiwan Strait crisis. China starts shelling the islands of Kinmen and Matsu, Taiwan's outer islands. And what did the US do? Eisenhower signed a mutual defense treaty with Taiwan faster than you can say contain communism. 1958, China tries again. US Navy shows up with 7th Fleet. Boom, China backs off like a schoolyard bully who just spotted the principal. And let's not forget the Korean War just a few years earlier. The US literally moved its entire Pacific Fleet to protect Taiwan from invasion. Not because of love for bubble tea, but because even back then, Taiwan was seen as the key to stopping communism from flooding the Pacific. So America wasn't messing around in the 50s, and it's not about to start now. Now fast forward to 2025. You think Taiwan is less important today? Let me walk you through it. First, semiconductors. Taiwan produces over 90% of the world's most advanced semiconductors. You like your iPhone, your Tesla, your Pentagon missile guidance systems, or powered by chips from Taiwan. If Taiwan falls, the global economy doesn't just wobble, it crashes. We're talking instant recession, mass panic, tech collapse, and oh yeah, China would control the beating heart of modern civilization. Second, geography. Taiwan sits smack in the middle of the first island chain, the front line of America's defense against Chinese expansion. If China seizes Taiwan, Beijing gets a front row seat to project power deep into the Pacific, threatening Japan, the Philippines, Guam, even Hawaii. It's like leaving your front door wide open with a handwritten note saying, "Dictators, welcome in." Losing Taiwan would mean the US loses its military edge in Asia, and China punches a hole straight through US Pacific defense strategy. You think Washington will just hand over the Pacific Ocean because Xi Jinping has an ego problem? Yeah, that's not how empire works. Now, some of you might ask, Ken, Trump is in the White House. Will he bail on Taiwan? Fair question. Yes, Trump has flirted with the idea of strategic ambiguity on Taiwan. He has dropped lines like, "I won't say what I'll do." He's also floated the idea that Taiwan should pay the US for protection. right? Likening it to a insurance contract. That sounds trilly, right? But wait. Despite the rhetoric, his administration has continued to actively pursue hard deterrence policies. We're talking expanded arms sales, deeper military coordination with Taiwan, and boosting joint deterrence with allies. The reality is, Democrat or Republican, it doesn't matter. Taiwan is now a bipartisan darling in Washington. It's one of the only issues everyone agrees on. In fact, if a president ever let Taiwan fail, he would be roasted alive on both Fox News and MSNBC. Imagine that headline: Commander-in-Chief loses Taiwan, markets tank, allies panic, China celebrates. That's not a legacy any president would want. Still not convinced? Let's talk firepower. The US has over 50,000 troops in Japan and South Korea, dozens of bases, submarines circling the Pacific like sharks, and carrier strike groups that make the PLA Navy look like water taxis. If China launches an invasion, those assets aren't just going to observe it from a distance. The minute PLA ships start crossing the strait, US satellites light up, missiles get armed, F-35s scramble, Japanese forces enter high alert, and Uncle Sam rolls up with a middle finger and a carrier strike group. This isn't Afghanistan. It's not Ukraine. This is the Pacific, China's backyard. And the US owns the patio furniture. Let's get real. This isn't just about defending 23 million people. It's about defending credibility. If the US lets Taiwan fall, every ally in Asia starts questioning American commitments. Japan rearms. South Korea goes nuclear. Australia gets nervous. The entire post-World War II alliance system crumbles. And dictators everywhere get the green light. Putin takes more of Ukraine. North Korea thinks, hey, maybe South Korea is up for grabs too. All because the US blinked. You think Washington is going to risk the entire world order just to save a few missiles? Please. The US can't afford not to intervene. Because once you lose your reputation as a global protector, you don't get it back. You become the guy who says, hey, buddy, I got your back, and then disappears when the punches start flying. And let's not pretend money is not important. Taiwan isn't just a strategic ally. It is a cash cow and critical client. Arms sales. Taiwan is one of the biggest buyers of American weapons. Billions in jets, missiles, tanks. Every upgrade Taiwan makes is basically placing a bulk order from the Pentagon catalog. You know, it's like a Black Friday sale, but for war machines. Energy. Taiwan buys American LNG like it's going out of style. They are phasing out fossil fuels and don't trust Russia or China. So who do they turn to for clean, reliable energy? Texas, Louisiana, America. And the chips? The US military depends on Taiwan's chips to keep its jets flying and missiles targeting. Lose Taiwan, and you don't just lose trade, you lose the brains of your entire military. That's not just bad for business, that's basically game over. If China takes Taiwan, they don't just get silicon, they get sea lanes. You know, like Taiwan Strait handles half of the world's container ships. Control that, and China holds a knife to the neck of the global trade. Japan's oil threatened. Korea's exports choked. America's Indo-Pacific influence vaporized. And once China controls the flow of trade, they'll start rewriting the rules. No more free markets. No more WTO standards. Just Beijing's rules of obedience. What you can buy, who you can sell to, and what politics you're allowed to believe. Look, I get it. The fear is real. China's rise has been hyped for decades. But if there's one red line that the US won't allow Beijing to cross, it's Taiwan. Because Taiwan is not just some remote island. It is the front line of democracy in Asia. It is the keystone of global supply chains. It is the domino that, if it falls, knocks down everything the US has built since 1945. So next time someone tells you, oh, the US might not defend Taiwan, tell them the US can't afford not to. And if Xi Jinping thinks he's going to catch America sleeping, he's in for a very lewd wake-up call. Thanks for watching. And if you haven't seen my last video where I talked about why China would collapse if it invaded Taiwan, go watch it now. It sets the stage for everything we just covered in this video. And I'll see you next time.